Well, in the last few days, the concept of rights and responsibilities have clashed. We are now having a conversation, where do we draw the line? Because as we've seen, the state apparatus is coming down hard on those who seem to be taking the rights for granted, or indeed not including responsibility to that exercise of the rights. But there are many opinions on this, and we're going to get to the heart of this conversation tonight on PM X-Ray. So stay with me. Of course, at the top of this controversy is Oliver's arrest. Oliver Barker-Vormawor, who is a convener of the Fix the Country movement, was arrested on Friday, was detained over the weekend. Today, he was formally placed before a court of competent jurisdiction and charged with treason felony. And of course, his comments that he had made, posts he'd made on Facebook, formed the basis of the police's case against him. In fact, today, we are learning a bit more about the police's evidence against him because we've secured court documents detailing the facts of the case. Some of the details we're learning pretty intriguing, including the police telling us that he actually mounted a surveillance on him after somebody filed a complaint. So we're learning about that also today, that somebody indeed filed a complaint in Ashaiman. And that's why the case was held in our Ashaiman court today. And that is what led to the police then mounting the surveillance on him to gather evidence. And they got to know when he was arriving in the country and picked him up when he arrived at the airport. The second intriguing thing we learned today from the police's documents that we have is that the police say, well, they all again have evidence, and we'll have to produce this before the courts, that suggests that Oliver traveled from the UK to Ghana with the intention of executing that agenda to overthrow the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government. That is what the police have told us, have told the court, in fact, that we managed to get access to in a court document. So very fascinating details, and the police have a long way to go in backing these claims with evidence. But as we speak tonight, he is going to spend the next 2 weeks in police custody behind bars. And we also know that he's already on a hunger strike, and we understand that he's taking in some fluids to survive. His hunger strike has been triggered because he is protesting his detention, indeed. And that's him there today when he appeared before the courts, him in handcuffs, raising his hands to the people who were there in numbers, the Fix the Country campaigners who were there to sympathize with him. So his case has thrown in a whole lot of, I guess, very interesting comments and analysis. But the fundamental thing that we need to examine, even with him, is that line between rights and responsibility. Because this is something that he said. This is one of the things that police have cited in their case against him. And it's fundamental. The police say, if you say, quote, if this e-levy passes after this cake BS, I will do the coup myself. And then you say, useless army. Police say that is inciting your followers, and he has a lot of followers there, to insurrection, to overthrow the constitution, to overthrow the government, and that is unacceptable and reckless. And it's a fundamental breach of the principles of responsibility when it comes to exercising one's right. And that's why they're taking him on. Again, on this post, you also see 10 February, he talks about e-coup. This is a day after he had made that he will do the coup himself and call the army useless, right? Then he makes the comment e-coup. Now, the police say all this, they have evidence to show he really wanted to carry this out. Well, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this. But let's put this in context, because this is not the first time somebody is being charged with treason felony or something related to treason when it comes to things that they may have said in public. You remember, in the case of Kennedy Japan, this is April 2012, he was also accused of treason. Even in this case, genocide was added to it. Honestly, we don't know where that case went. Obviously, it didn't travel anywhere, because if you pay attention to treason, it is one of the most serious crimes you can commit against the state. You're going in for life. In some cases, even the death penalty comes to play here. Well, he is still a member of parliament, and so that tells you that case didn't travel anywhere. You have Koko Anyendeho, same. In 2018, under this government's first term, also made comments, and he was also slapped. Well, we're told he was going to be slapped with charges of treason, etc. There was drama around his arrest, was kept in the BNI cells for a while. That case ended nowhere. A lot of people are looking at this history and saying, is this one of those that the police can't sustain? And is it tenable throughout the tenure? Or does somebody want to just show him where power lies? We'll get into that very shortly. But the question about responsibility, we will emphasize that. And rights also. How do you exercise those rights and so be responsible? But again, there's a general context beyond Baka-Vomo War, because also in the last few days, we had a conversation about journalism and the media and its own rights and freedoms, because we've had several cases of journalists publishing staff or activists publishing staff that has put them in trouble. We have 4 of them in all that we've seen with a number of arrests. We have false news and offensive conduct 2. We have contempt of court 1. And by the way, that has to do with comments that had been made by an individual. Treason also 1. And let's break it down for you. We have Oheneba Boahene Beni, who again is one of those who've been dragged before the High Court by the Attorney General in case of a contempt of court. And this is what he said, that he has in his Facebook video that President Akufo-Addo has met 3 Supreme Court judges to influence the decision in the 2020 election petition. I mean, the police, of course, and the judiciary believe that this is fundamentally reckless because he hasn't provided any substantial evidence to back this point, right? I mean, you cannot make this point and get away with it. In fact, Manasseh Zuriya, who is joining me, says his penalty that was inflicted on him, it's pretty lenient, by the way, because you cannot malign the entire Supreme Court and expect to get away with it because you are exercising freedom of speech. And so, of course, the government must come down pretty hard on people such as that who make pronouncements like this that again throw our whole constitution and democracy into disrepute. And so we have this case with him, 3,000 cedis in prison for 14 days. He's spending this in jail for making comments that are completely unsubstantiated. And, you know, there are people on the Supreme Court who have families. When you malign them like that and make comments such as this, you must definitely have a basis for it, or else the court will deal with you like this. He's in jail for 14 days. We have also the case of Mensah Thompson, who also published on Facebook a claim alleged that President Akufo-Addo relatives used the presidential jet on a shopping spree in the United Kingdom. In his case, he realized he's made a mistake and he retracted and apologized. It appears that it didn't stop the police from getting involved, and as we know, he is also being charged with publication of false news and offensive conduct. The status of this is that he's been granted a bill to the sum of 50,000 cedis, and this case is still pending before the courts. And then of course, we have Bobi Ansah, who similarly also make statements about, you know, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, Second Lady Samaria Bawumia giving themselves state lands at the AU village. It turns out, as we've seen there, around Kodoka International Airport, etc., the view is from the police is that this is again false. And so what have they done? Publication of false news and offensive conduct slapped against him, granted bail, 50,000 cedis, case adjourned to March. One of the key questions you're going to be asking our guests is, this is on our law, it's in our law books. We repeal the criminal libel law, but we've seen the increasing use of this particular article here, publication of false news and offensive conduct, etc. there. Is this being weaponized to sort of constrict the press? And we'll get into that very shortly. Or indeed, if you have recklessness, such as the police believe has been exhibited in some of the cases, then it's fair to use that law to, you know, apply in dealing with the journalist.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and click the bell icon and get notified every time we share something interesting. We would love to have you on there.